Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel. And today I am in Old Montreal on a bright sunny day. And when I arrived here, it's just 12 o'clock noon. And the Notre Dame Cathedral of Montreal's bell is ringing. And I feel so calm listening to the sound, the vibration of the bell. It's just a very soothing sound. And here I am on my way finding a cafe that I've never been to. Yeah, and the green of the door and window frames is just so nostalgic. It reminds me of the color of the wall of my grandma's house when I was little. Yeah, love the green color. Yeah, so here I'm coming inside. So the floor is so rustic. Yeah, so it's kind of like a cafe and a candy store at the same time, and a little grocery store. So they sell candy, chocolates, and other kitchen condiments and stuff. And here I'm sitting down by the wall where they have these cute little picture frames, mirrors hanging on the wall. So I'm just gonna do a quick sketch of the view in front of me, including those ornaments on the wall. Yeah, so I really love this little angel figurine. It's part of the mirror. Yeah. So I just started drawing the hair, the shape of the hair, and the really cute chubby cheek, and the neck area, and the hand in praying gesture. And this little angel is like kneeling down, drawing his little wing here that I can see, and the folds on the wing. And this is the little platform that he is kneeling on. And very gently adding the half-closed eyes and the little nose and the little lips. Yeah, I think I captured him pretty well. So now I'm using my dark sepia Faber-Castel fine liner pen to draw because the interior is very rustic, and I think a brown fine liner pen that really shows the feeling so much better. And drawing these spiral shapes underneath the platform. Yeah, so this part of the drawing is pretty abstract and fun. And some more floral shapes. Yeah, another little spiral here. Adding some accentuations in between some of these lines to show dark shade. Okay, so now it's time to connect the frame of the mirror, which is in pretty nice vein borders. Yeah, in a circular shape, right behind the head of the little angel. Yeah, a lot of lines to show the braided pattern of the border of the mirror. And now I'm just adding these smaller shapes, including picture frames and other smaller mirrors. So all of these shapes are looking a little small and looking a little squished because I'm sitting down very close to the wall, looking at these things from an extremely foreshortened angle. So that's why these things, they look a little kind of distorted, a little bit wonky because of the place that I'm sitting, very close to the wall. Yeah, especially for those ones, you know, moving further away from me, they look even smaller and squished. Just adding as much details inside those frames as I can, and finishing the higher part of the wall. My cup of latte, and a little paper bag with my cookie in it. The reflection in the mirror, very loosely. And the chair. Yeah, so now I'm starting to draw this man, and he's bald. And yeah, I just find it a little tricky to draw, a man without hair. So yeah, but he has like a big beard, so that's like something. And it's also a little challenging to draw people when they're sitting really close to you. So I was actually a little worried that he might notice me. And here is my finished line work. And now I'm ready to put in the colors to really get the feeling of this place in. So just wetting the wall area with clear water by lightly squeezing my water brush. And yeah, this interior has a really warm yellow glow. So this is like a mix of lemon yellow and medium yellow. Orange mixing with a little bit of burnt sienna or brown for the lower part. So this is a nice blend of warm yellow and brown. The color of the wall is transitioning into a brown color around the lower part because it's further away from the lights. That's why it's a darker tone. Brown is a darker tone compared to the yellow. And same adding this warm yellow for my paper bag. And after that, I'm adding some more vibrant and warm colors, such as the red and the brown for the tables and the chairs, adding a little bit dark brown shadow for the cast shadows of the paper bag and the coffee cup and the things around it. Same for the cup itself as well, and for the paper bag. Yeah, just painting in the chair, the wooden chair. And to show the relief of the wooden structure, on the bottom of the wall, I'm adding a stronger brown tone containing less water. And so I'm adding more weight to the wooden structure. And now I'm just adding the yellow-brown for the little angel, the platform, and the floral sculpture underneath it. Wet into wet, some darker brown tones around the right side and around the bottom of the platform. So really observe where the bright spot is and where the darker spots are. I just wetted the mirror area with clear water and wet some brushstrokes of grass green, the reflection of the hanging houseplants into the mirror, and a little bit of diluted brown for all the other objects on the opposite side of the wall. And just using this warm yellow-brown to paint the frames. And adding a darker tone of brown to show the shine of these frames. So in general, I just use 2 layers. The first layer is like a warm yellow. Second layer, like an intense yellow-brown to show the contrast and shine of these objects. Yeah, and all of these picture frames, they have a little cast shadow on the right side because most of the lighting, the light bulbs are on the left. Yeah, so all of these cast shadows are on the right side of these objects, and adding another layer of brown containing less water for the wooden area of the wall. Adding some little colorful dashes for those little pictures inside the frame there. And using thin brush strokes to show the texture of the wall in the back. And just filling in the skin color with leftover red-brown diluted. I think he was wearing a green shirt. The first layer was very watery. Second layer, more intense, containing less water. Just so giving his body a bit of 3-dimension. Yeah, his jacket was gray. So again, I mixed my own gray with blue, purple, and a little bit green. I think that's pretty much it. And that's a pretty quick sketch. And adding a little contrast around the corner of the wall with a darker tone for the back of his head. That's it. And here is the look of my finished sketch. Okay, so here I am walking on the famous St. Paul Street in Old Montreal with a lot of souvenir shops, restaurants, and it's not as busy because it's a Monday. Yeah, and here I am sitting down on a bench at this inner alley. Yes, I love these pink flowers on the wall of these buildings. It's very cheerful. And so now I'm ready to do a sketch of the alley view in front of me. So I just lightly use a pencil to do a very quick layout, so I'm not drawing way too big or too small. Starting with this building on the left was a lot of these pink flowers surrounding its outline. So as you can see, the line on top of the building is slanting very sharply down towards the right because I'm sitting down very close to this building. The angles are very extreme. And now I'm just adding these leaves of the plants around the bottom of the building and connecting the plants with a bicycle. Here is the basket area of the bike and the front metallic bar supporting the front wheel. Yeah, this is the front wheel. And drawing the spikes inside the wheel. This is one of a foreground element that kind of attracts the viewer's attention. And the seat of the bike. And some more bars making up the structure of the bike, the pedal area. And the back wheel, and there's a plastic basket in the back of the bike, and that's it. After that, I'm starting to add this person in the distance around the end of the alley, walking towards me, and another person a little further away, looking a little smaller, and adding the side view of this girl sitting in the middle ground, starting with the shape of her hair. And she had a little ponytail, and yeah, just keep her face very simple. It doesn't have to be capturing a likeliness. And keep connecting this arc over here in between the two buildings on top of the walkway. So this shape, the shape of the arc is kind of like a doorway in the very back of the alley. It's a really nice structure to add on to this urban sketch. And now, after that, I am connecting the arc area with the slanting line going upwards towards the right, and some of these prism shapes, the attic area of the building, and some more, another line slanting upwards towards the right, and the borders around these two buildings. This is actually two buildings very close to each other. And here is a lamp right here in between. Just adding on these smaller, interesting little thingies that I see. And another street lamp and the pots of flowers. And drawing this building and the trees in the very far distance very loosely. They don't have to be as clearly defined as the things in the foreground. And now I'm moving on to filling in these large shapes of the buildings with windows. These windows, they look very squished because I'm looking at the building from a pretty extreme angle, and adding some more of these pink flowers hanging on the outside of the building, and some more windows and doors. Yeah, so that building is done. So adding some more flowers that I see hanging on the outside of this building. This is kind of like the middle ground area. Things are getting larger and more defined. And adding the little step over here is like two prism pieces, kind of like two little Lego pieces attaching to each other, and the door with the frame. And looking very narrow because I'm looking at this door from a pretty extreme angle, so it's very foreshortened. and adding this window here on the very end of this building, adding a little accentuation around the frame area there, because every window is like a thin inverted prism carved out from the building. It's not just a shape. And adding the eave area of the building, and these windows, they're getting wider and wider, closer to me. As you can see, yeah, these windows are getting bigger and wider because of the rule of perspective. And just adding the sign of a marketplace. I think there's a marketplace down there with a gate underneath this sign. And now I'm starting to add these lamps attached to the exterior of the building. As you can see, these lamps are getting larger and larger, closer to me. So after that, I'm beginning to draw the doors and more windows. The same idea, is getting bigger. And here I have a door right over here. It's longer compared to the windows, and some more plants around the bottom of the building. And here there's a sign kind of guiding you into the plaza where they have a little market in there. There's a chair outside the door here. Okay, and now I'm starting to draw these prism shapes for the attic area of this building. This one in the middle is kind of like a little birdhouse. And here's another little birdhouse shape, like a little cube. And the little attic window. So after that, I'm adding the accentuation for every single of these windows. So it really helps to show the inverted shape, the inverted prism of these windows. As I mentioned before, all of these windows are kind of like thin slabs of prisms carved out from the perfect shape of the building. And that's why there's this upside down L shape accentuation on the left side, because this is part of the shape of the inverted prism. And yeah, adding the shade and inner window frames. And adding accentuations with solid and thicker ink lines, it really helps to show 3-dimension even before adding colors. Now just trying to draw the stair over here, the little platform stepping into the room. And now I'm starting to use these shapes to show the rocks. Yeah, so this building has a rocky exterior. As you can see, I'm not trying to draw every single piece of rock, so it's just kind of like seeing and kind of using my memory and not trying to copy very strictly of what's really there. And these rock shapes are getting larger and larger towards the right, closer to me. And adding this metallic bar over here. Yeah, and this bar, it kind of is parallel to the sign of the market, creating a sense of 3-dimension. And adding this the head figure over there on top of the gate to the market. And some metallic letters around. Here's another window above the head. And in terms of these small window frames inside the outline of the windows, not this one, all of these vertical lines are very straightforward. What about these lines? All of these lines are pretty much parallel, and they're all going upwards towards the right, because this window is way above my eye level, and that's why it's going upwards towards the right. And same for this window over here, the bottom line, the windowsill, the lines are pretty much parallel, going up towards the right. Because this is the second floor, is above my eye level. So all of the lines above our eye level, they're all going upwards. Yeah, and same for the arc shape of the doorway over here. I think there's a little store or a little cafe here. And now drawing the inner wall of the arc over here that helps with the 3-dimension. And the gate. Yeah, the gate is opened. And drawing a little texture for the arc to help with the 3-dimension and these spikes on the gate. And also the hinge of the gate. And so on the gate there are picture frames, actually large frames with jewelries and other small pieces of art inside. So just drawing these. And yeah, all of these picture frames are following the perspective of the door of the gate. And adding another layer for the arc. And adding these very organic shapes of rocks. Yeah, just trying my best to get a pattern in. And behind the gate there are other like things that I can see a little bit of the market. And drawing this little flower pot. So it's all about connection. So I'm kind of like moving around my pen, following the different interest points. And these rock pieces are looking pretty big compared to the ones in the back because of perspective. The basic perspective rule is that things are getting larger, closer to you in the foreground, and getting smaller, moving away from you in the background. Yeah, so these are actually windows of the little restaurant or cafe here. The door, and adding a little bit of shine inside the glass, and a bit of shade as well, adding a little accentuation around this arc area. And here is the look of my finished line work. Yeah, so I know there are like hundreds of other details in this scenery, but I think the other details are not so necessary. I think I've captured the essence, and now it's time to move on to paint the watercolors. So as always, I like to paint the scenery by painting the sky first. Yeah, it's a very bright sunny day, so the sky is a very straightforward cerulean blue color, diluted. The sky is never like a very solid blue, it's always translucent. And the first layer for those foliages in the distance, a blend of yellow and lime green to show the shine of sunshine on top of everything. Yeah, lime green and lemon yellow. And a little bit of orange to show the top of that building in sunshine. Slightly darker tone of green around the bottom. Yeah, so that's wet into wet. It's nice to have a transition of colors like that, especially during daylight, to show drama in the scenery, even in a small space. And wetted the walkway with clear water and adding this warm orange brown. So orange mixed with burnt sienna, and more burnt sienna closer to the foreground. So again, transition of two slightly different tones of orange and brown. So I very rarely paint something with a flat and singular color. There's always like a blend of two, maybe three different colors to have a nice and soft gradients to give 3-dimension. And orange for those lamps. And using leftover brown mixed with a bit of yellow ochre, diluted a lot. Yeah, the exterior of this building is just a very mellow color with a bit of orangey glow from the lamps above. Yeah, and keep spreading this yellow and yellow-brown tone. So as you can see, this whole building, the color is it's not the same. This is the same situation for every single object in the world. It's never just like a flat color. There's always a bit of a transition of 2 or 3 different similar colors. That's how we make our paintings look more interesting and more dynamic. And just painting the eave area with raw umber. Raw umber mixing in with a little bit ultramarine blue to have a deeper inky brown tone to give more contrast. Yeah, the eave is, underneath, the rooftop is away from the light source, so it's very intense. And adding this bit of warm yellow for the inside of the gate. Leftover dark brown for the hinge and the gate. Adding this very loosely, leaving little gaps to show the shine of the metallic door. Adding some warm orange to show the lighting inside this little restaurant or cafe. So I'm constantly playing with warm and cool tones. So if a painting contains only warm colors or only cold colors, it's not interesting to look at. So now I'm adding this extremely cold gray for that part, and just cold gray wrapping around the warm color to make the warm glow inside even warmer. So we need to find the balance between warm and cold colors in all sketching situations. Yeah, and these greens are warmer as well. And punching on some contrasting greens, darker tone of green like Viridian green. Viridian green mixed in with a little bit of burnt sienna, so the green is darker. Yeah, just for those leaves around the bottom. Now it's time to paint these pink magenta flowers. These flowers are actually fake, but they're really, really pretty. It just gives more life to this alley. Yeah, just simply punching on this vibrant pink here and there. So as you can see, the pink in the middle ground is a stronger one, containing more pigment. The ones in the distance contains more water and looking a little faded out, because things in the distance, they don't have to be looking that strong, including color intensity. The color intensity in the middle ground and in the foreground could be stronger to show a sense of depth. Adding some more warm oranges around the window area here and there. So I just love painting windows. I very rarely just leave windows blank. I can always see the reflective colors on these windows. So now I can see very warm yellows, maybe from the light inside or maybe from the sunshine. And at the same time, we do need contrast. So I just grab this dark blue. Yeah, for each of these tiny little blocks in between the little frames to show contrast. And leaving those bright yellow spots. Let those spots shine. So if you want to show the brightness of something, you have to add some intensities, intense colors around it. Yeah, and these areas takes a bit of patience and brush control, so I have to use the very tip of my brush to punch in those little squares. And grabbing some raw umber or dark brown tone to paint in these little blocks of pebbles or rocks. I'm also kind of painting in the shapes that I didn't draw. So some of these rocks could be painted directly with watercolors, just to create a sense of flexibility. So when we're drawing a rocky surface like this, we don't have to draw every single rock with ink pen. So we can just leave them out and just punch the shape in with brush strokes. Brush strokes of different pressures, loaded with different amount of paint, is going to have different shapes and intensities. Yeah, and putting on some dark brown around those orange patches just to show the warm glow even better. If you want to show the brightness of something, you need to put some darker tones around it to make the tone even brighter. That's one of the illusions that we create with paint. You need the contrast in. And yes, painting these smaller shapes. So a little head sculpture, and keep punching on some more brush strokes for the rocks. So try to use different variety of pressures. And just let it go after the punch. I don't just keep rubbing the area to create like a perfect shape or something. Yeah, so as I'm getting on to the last stage of watercolors, my brush strokes are getting smaller and more careful. I'm adding these darker tones only on the parts that that really needs some more contrast. And painting this flower pot with this vibrant red is very important. It really pops in the foreground. And adding some dark brown for these attic areas, very much like birdhouses. And starting to add a bit of blue for these flower pots or flower beds. Slight bit of contrast on the side. Yeah, painting the dome of a church in the distance. Yeah, the brown for the eave for this building in the distance. A little dark brown to separate these two buildings, the borderline in between. Color in the attic windows very quickly. And one side of these attic shapes are in dark brown, the other side facing the sunlight. Just leave it white to show the 3-dimension. And painting the chair with a vibrant brown. So these smaller elements like the flower pot, the sign, the chair, and the warmth of the window these warm colors really kind of attract the viewer's attention. Adding a bit of shadow around the bottom of the building from the flower beds and the stairs. And I think that's it for my finished sketch. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. And I try to update this channel 2 to 3 times a week. I will see you again very soon next time. Have a great weekend, everyone.